Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Skogsberg with TWH Annuities, and this web class is going to be just on some of the things that we've developed over the decades based on what our top selling agents have come to us with needs for. So I'm going to keep it to short and sweet as I can. I like to keep webinars under 20 minutes if possible. I apologize we have so many people on that we can't take questions right now. But there will be contact information at the end, and you can email us or call in with whatever questions you've got going. So 4 different areas we're going to go over. One of them is an index teaching tool. Then there's a crediting method comparison tool that we've just created this last year, and then an income rider comparison tool, because income riders are so popular that about 70% of annuities are being sold with income riders. And then just a couple of ad hoc customized selling tools that people have come to us and said, hey, could you do this? So we've come up with ways to help them. So teaching index annuities, client won't buy what they don't understand, and sometimes I've seen agents stumble when trying to explain exactly how index annuities work, and then you have to overcome some of the misconceptions or lies that other financial advisors have already told these potential clients that you're meeting with. So teaching them how an index annuity operates can be a little bit tricky at times, even with sophisticated people that haven't used index annuities before. If you can break it down into something simple and visual, it really helps to get that going. So we put this tool together probably about 8 years ago, and right after the crash, I guess, in 2008. And it matches up performance in the S&P 500. In the bottom table, it shows the years that the S&P 500 is up, and it shows the years that the S&P 500 are down. And then you can correlate those to the graph at the top, so that as you point out to the clients here, in this year, there was an up year in 1995. That was the year index annuities actually were created. So there was an uptick in the index annuity cash value. And then again, we have another up year in the following year, and another one. So you can see that the index annuity is growing every time there's an up year in the index. But then when we get to this bad years, where in 2000 we had that internet boom crash, and we had 3 down years in a row, market dropped roughly about 40% over those 3 years. But you can see on the top graph, the index annuity sat those years out. And so it sat on the sidelines, locked in the gains, and simply waited with safety until the market came back, which it did in the following year. Then you can watch it go up again as over the next 5 years that we had up years, and then show them again that at the end, when we had that big crash in 2008 that was just horrific, all the gains locked in, safety went into shutdown mode, and the annuity sat there quietly while everybody else panicked. This little tool that we can give you makes the conversation happen so quickly. They learn it so fast. And then what I like to do with my clients, and our top producers do, is then they have the clients teach it back to us. Say, all right, now you get this? Yes. And this is client, you get this? Yes. All right, now you explain it back to me so I can be sure that you understand it. That sounds a little cheesy, and I felt a little uncomfortable doing it the first time myself, but I swear it makes the entire sale process locked down. Because one of the first things we want to do in every first meeting is try to eliminate all the future objections as we go along, and we can show you how to do that. This is one of the greatest tools that we've ever put in place, because it makes things go so much easier. Now, I have had agents say, well, why do you stop it at 2008? Can you do one that's more current? We can. This covers the 2 biggest crashes of our last 30 years, and it encompasses the beginning of the birth of the index annuity. So this time span actually is the best education-wise, because it's so dramatic in its shifts. So it really shows the growth and the protection simultaneously. We have other things that we can use to show you, like this one, where another sales tool that we just started using this last year. We have a updated and a cleaner version of this, but this one shows better on a PowerPoint presentation. Pull this out after the clients get the understanding about how the index annuities work, and say, all right, well, now let's take this from 2000 up to where we are today. And you can see here on the chart that we watched the crash of 2000, just like on the last chart. The market dropped for 3 years straight. Then it climbed back, and it climbed back, and it climbed back, and just the end of 2000, beginning of 2008, crashed even harder. And it's been climbing back all the way along up to here, And then I take a pen, or agents take a pen, and they put in where we are today and just extend that line. We're right about here. And then they hand the pen over to the client and say, now, if you had to draw in where that line is going to go next, which direction would you draw? And that, the clients always draw down. Some of them draw out flat, and then some of the ones that are joking, they make it go straight up in the air. But it really emphasizes, and I'm going to go back to that last previous slide, it really emphasized the protection that you just showed them in this first tool, and then to tie it on to how far overdue we are for market correction. It sinks the hook and really helps them get on board faster with the idea of the index annuities. So that's it for the tools that we have used, because we've also found the more simplistic you can make the sales presentation, the better off that you are, the quicker you can get them to understand, and the quicker you can get to the point of talking about which annuity we're going to write today and what's the sale. So that's all I use, really. Now I'll have a legal pad out and a pen, and trust me, I didn't make these things up. I've learned this stuff from our best advisors. They taught me how to make the sale. But we keep it simple. Those are usually the only two tools that we use during the first meeting, maybe even the first and second meetings. Then we got to talk about crediting methods, because sometimes they'll say, now I noticed on that blue graph that you had there that it said monthly point-to-point crediting. Whatever the level of sophistication the client has with crediting methods, at some point you're probably going to have a conversation with them, even if it's the point of filling out the application and choosing which crediting methods you're going to go into. So we've come up with a way to compare. Now, there was some software out up until last year called Go Figure Now. We used to use that thing like crazy, but they went out of business. So when they did, we started writing our own program to come up with something, and I believe it's even better and a little bit stronger and easier to display than what we used to have. But what it does is it takes all types of different crediting indexes, mostly based on the S&P 500, because that's the most readily available data, and some of the other data in some of those, Morningstar, Burning Man, Farfignugan crediting indexes, you can't even find data on it, so you kind of just have to trust what the carrier gives you on those. So we try to make it as apples to apples as we can, because almost every carrier has got some S&P 500 indexes. So this method, you can see, it comes in two sheets of paper. Like we said before, try to keep it as simple as possible. The first one is a graph that shows you how the different crediting methods are working against each other over the last 10 years, using real S&P index data. And then we track the S&P 500 in the red line to show that how the market performed as well. This again reinforces that first teaching tool, when the safety gets locked in, when the crediting happens in the up years. So this is kind of a nice build on what you've already done. So here's the first page, and it's nice to start off with a visual reference and not too much data. And as you can see in this one, now this is a case that we just did for a client an agent last week in Indiana, because he had talked with this client twice and gotten shut down because he's in a Voya annuity at 4.25%. He's been in there for a long, long time, doesn't have an income rider, and he's not super happy with it. But this agent struck out. And then we talked about this tool, and we put these into place. Now, this one agent really likes to sell a theme. So we only use the crediting methods within the index annuity that agent is most comfortable with, which is fine. I mean, we have a top contract with Athene, and we have a good relationship with them, and we've done a lot of business with them over the years. But that's why you'll see Athene here. I don't want you to get the impression that we're pushing the Athene annuity. I believe there are better annuities that would have fit in this scenario. But hey, this works just fine, and it made the sale. So this is the second page, and it breaks down the first page's graph and gives you the year-by-year crediting, the ups and the downs. And we put another copy of the graph there at the top, and we've color-coded it now so that next to each one you can see here the Voya is in the blue, and you'll notice on the graph, Voya's not doing so good, and that's the one the guy has right now. If the client were to go with any one of these other three crediting methods in the Athene annuity, they would end up far, far ahead of where they're going to be with the current Voya annuity. So this worked to make the sale. You notice that bonuses are listed here: annual point-to-point 4.25, annual point-to-point 5%, monthly point-to-point annual participation rate of 55%. It ties to it. The clients get it so fast, and they're dumbfounded at what they see, because, well, I'll show you here in this next example, but they're amazed at how well we can isolate and then make apples to apples comparisons of these different crediting methods that they were kind of having a hard time understanding. And it even shows, like in the Athene product, you're going to pay that rider fee in the years where there's no crediting. So it shows that comes out. But it also shows over the long run, doesn't matter, because it's so much more powerful as a crediting method than the other three are. Your obvious choice here is the annual participation rate, 55% strategy, which is great. This next one is actually the most complex one we've done since we created the software. It was a very sophisticated retired businessman that wanted specifically to see 8 different crediting methods compared. He had met with 2 other financial advisors and was just about to go to a meeting with one of them when he came to a seminar of ours and saw that he learned things that the other advisor had not told him, and the other advisor had actually lied. So he took what the first 2 guys had said to my agent and said, now, if you guys can bring this data back to me, I'll be impressed. So I tried to put all 8 methods on one sheet, but it got way too crowded. So this is broken up into 2 different presentations. And the first one has 4 crediting methods. And you'll see here again, this is Athene, 2 crediting methods by Athene, Americo from Legacy, their Liberty Mark 7. That can be a real strong product too. But look at the cash values, how they grow. Now this is using $250,000 as a starting example. And you can see that over time, oops, go back one. Over time, the bottom row then after 10 years shows you how much each account would have grown to with the different crediting methods. Okay, so these have done okay. The first one almost kept up with what the S&P 500 did. The second one actually did beat the S&P 500. So in this case, on this page, the Athene monthly point-to-point 2.25 is the strongest crediting method, but that's only the first 4. And then we move on to the second 4, and we look at those again. We have Fidelity and Guarantee, Great American, Delaware Life, Security Benefit Plus, and there's monthly point-to-point with a bonus and a fee, annual point-to-point with a fee, annual point-to-point with a bonus, different crediting methods, different carriers. But look at how much further ahead now we are, because the best crediting method of the first 4 was 380-something thousand. This one's 394. So by far, the clearer winner is the Fidelity and Guarantee, the monthly point-to-point. And it made the sale. And it made the first of several sales, because this guy's in his early 70s, and he has a girlfriend who's a retired doctor, and she saw this and said, okay, I want you to come back next week because I've got my own money. And then she's got $2 million that she wants the agent to work on as well. The comparison is so simple, and it's apples to apples to apples. It's not like going out to carrier websites and pulling down 8 or 7 different illustration softwares and trying to come back with, well, this carrier uses hypothetical, this carrier uses the last 10 historical, this uses random samples. There's no way you can get a good feel for which one would do the best. And this breaks it down, short and sweet. We own the software, so you just call us, email us, and say, here's what we want to do. And then we've done probably 30 to 40 of these in the last 8 weeks since it hit the market. We can guide you to and say, hey, well, think about this one, and here's the way one happened. You'll notice on this one that it's not color-coded because we didn't think to do that until just 2 weeks ago. But this is another tool that we have that is designed by the field. And, hey, can you give us one of these? Sure. Yeah, we were able to come up with it. All right, now that works great for accumulation play, but 70% of the annuities that our agents sell have income riders on them. Whether or not they're going to go for income riders, sometimes it's strictly an income play, sometimes it's a combination. But we've learned ways to help explain income riders faster and get over that hump. And remember, the clients won't buy what they can't understand. So we got to make it easy to explain it, break it down simple, make it apples to apples comparison. And here again, you end up in the same boat like we just talked about. If you go out to every carrier's website, let's say your client has kind of narrowed it down. You called us and we ran a report or did some analysis and said, well, here's the top 3 carriers for that client for 65-year-old that wants to wait 1 year to turn on income. What do we do? So if you had to go out, I just pulled 3 random ones that we had worked on in the last week. Remember, we don't represent any one carrier, so don't get hung up if I show a carrier that you love or you hate. It doesn't matter. We can work around any of them. This is the Allianz 222. I am not a huge fan. There are agents out there that want to sell it and they love it to pieces, but I just want to show you now. If you had to go out and show a client different carrier illustrations and try and teach them and explain how a lifetime income rider works, a lot of times we would use these. And the problem is, okay, on this one, here's where the income account value is. You notice it doesn't grow for the first 10 years. Why not? Well, here comes the lifetime income. It's down over here on the far right side. Now let's look at another one, Prosperity Elite, our #1 seller for the last 2 years. But it's set up different. Why are there so many more columns? Okay, here's the income column over here. And you just have to do this, point to it with a pencil and say, no, here's the income column on this one. Here's the income that you could draw. Yes, this one has a critical care, kind of long-term care-ish rider on it. This one also comes with a couple of death benefits, and then that starts opening other doors because the clients see these and go, well, how come the last one didn't have all those extra columns? So that you're already causing fear and questions and confusion in their minds. They're wondering why you're showing them these different carriers. They don't quite understand why, what the difference is. Then you show them something like the benefit solution. Very clean and pretty, easy to understand. They really did a good job when they updated their software. This one's easier to do. Look at that. But the benefits, why is the benefit base located in a different area? Why is it called a benefit base? They didn't call it that on the last 2 illustrations. So they start to question everything because things are so different. So what we did is we came up with an apples-to-apples comparison based off the old buckets method. Because I'd seen this done by a few of our different top advisors in some fashion, but they'd pull a legal pad out and they'd draw a set of boxes or a set of buckets or spigots or water towers or whatever, just to show that in the annuity there's 2 things happening simultaneously. You've got cash accumulation and you've got income value, and that's accumulating as well. Both buckets are filling up, but for different reasons and for different uses. You can't access both of them at the same time. So that simple and very effective teaching tool, we took it a step farther and created our own system to show an apples-to-apples comparison. And this is the format. We break it down based on the 2 buckets. Everything to the left of the black line is the cash bucket. Everything to the right of the black line, and I still actually, when I meet with clients and teach agents, I still should draw the buckets or the boxes first, and then say, now here is that those same 2 buckets. The left bucket is on the side of the left black line, and the income bucket is on the right-hand side of the black line. So the way we've broken this down is to make it simple and standardized. Doesn't matter who the carrier is. We don't even want to put the carrier name on there. We just want the client to see it. $250,000, that's going to be in the same spot every time. If there's a bonus, it's going to be over here, the top of the cash bucket. And then we take the accumulation growth and say, hypothetically, we have no idea how the index will perform. Let's just give it a 3%, 5%, and 7% averaged annualized return. If you don't want it to be that aggressive, we can go 3%, 4%, and 5%, however you want to do that. But that's just to show how the growth might look on the cash side. Then on the income side, we show them the guaranteed roll-up rate, whether it's compound or simple interest. We show them that here's what your income bucket filling up is going to look like over the years. Show them the age payout factors. That can be extremely important when you get to making the lifetime income calculation. And then we show the income account value. It's in bold. It's easy to see. It's always in the same spot. If there's a long-term care rider or a critical care component, we throw it in there so they can see it. And then we identify what the rider fee is, because some clients get hung up on that. The basic process is laid out for you. Then, and I have to overemphasize this. You can't leave these with clients. You never put income or accumulation numbers in writing and give them to a client. That is big, big no-no. This is an education tool. Number one, it's an education tool for us, the agents, so we can see these comparisons side by side. If I want to show this to a client as a teaching tool, I can do that, and I have. But I never leave these with the clients. That's a no-no. What this does is this helps us get down to picking out that 1 or 2 of the best or for this case, the most appropriate income annuity. And then we go back and we do carrier illustrations from the carrier software specifically. But by then they're okay with it because the numbers are going to be the same. It's just a slightly different arrangement. But what we need to help them with first is getting to that decision point. So this is a case we did last week, and here's the second annuity that we threw in. This happens to be Prosperity Elite. You'll notice the format is still the same except for that extra column in the center, but it's still on the right of the black line. It's still in the income bucket. But they'll ask, why does this? Well, this has an extra death benefit to it. And then, I can't remember who this was. I think this is that Guggenheim product, I think. But notice how everything looks similar every time. So the clients are looking at this now, and they begin to focus simply on the outcome numbers, the in bold on the right-hand side. And we can compare, well, what if you turn on your income in the first year? Well, in that example, number 1 is going to be the winner. What if you wait until the 7th year? Well, then example number 3 is going to be the winner. So we have to look at, and the clients start to get it and go, oh, okay, there's a different roll-up rate. I understand this now. Takes the fear away and it makes you look brilliant as an advisor and as an educator. So it makes them trust you and want to do business with you. By the time you get to the 4th one, they're already on board. They start explaining it to you now. Okay, now see, here's the roll-up rate. I notice this one doesn't have a bonus. It doesn't have long-term care. Okay, I see. And if they're struggling, I'll make them teach it back to me, and that helps get us going too. I'm running over my time limit. I promise I'm wrapping up quickly. So this is how this looks if you take the pages all side by side. This is what the client can look at if you want to. We staple them together when we send them, but you print them out and even set them all side by side. The clients really get it. It happens so quick. This reduces the amount of meeting time and the number of times you have to go back and meet with clients by a huge margin. And another thing that we've created, proprietary system here at TWH. Okay, I'm going to just wrap up with some of the little ad hoc things we've done here. Like we had somebody who said, can you spell out the difference between annual point-to-point, monthly average, and monthly point-to-point or monthly cap because Allianz calls it monthly cap, for crediting methods, because I need to be able to somehow explain this to the client every time I try it. So I quickly wrote up something that we could use that works well. The client got it pretty easily then eventually, but you had to throw some real numbers and math at it to make it make sense. This Christmas tree just shows the number of years that have been up or down since, I can't remember, 1910 or something like that, 1930. No, back to like 18 something. And it's 71% of the time, the market is actually up above zero, which is a fantastic average. And that helped out with a client who was really stuck on the whole index. Well, but if I only get crediting in the up years, that's only about 40% of the time, right? No, it's actually 71%. But we had to show him graphically. We also had a client that was telling an agent that, I don't want one of those annuities because I've heard there have been so many lawsuits and so many complaints filed with the Department of Insurance and the SEC. No, that's actually not true. And we were able to find tons of articles and data that supported that. And we ended up making, I think, a $150,000 sale with her. This one was just somebody who wanted to see the IRA tables. So we pulled one out of our seminar handouts and we created this and put the beneficiary table in there as well. This is actually a page that we used at the client meeting. So just to give, then there's this one with those new QLACs came out, the Qualified Longevity Annuity Contracts. We had a bunch of people that were trying to sell those or at least try to understand them. And we created a comparison tool that would show you how would that work out if you went into your QLAC or if you did something else, and you can pick your estimated rate of return. And that's really helped make some great index annuity sales, because 99% of the time the index annuity will do better for you than the QLAC will over time. But we needed a way to show that, so we created a proprietary system that will do a QLAC comparison for you really quick and easy to understand. Oh, and then this is another one where an advisor was going up against a client that was about to buy an Allianz 222. Then the competing advisor had convinced that client that the 222 is the only thing in the world for you. It's got the best income rider in the world, the best guarantees in income, the only rider that grows in income over the years. And I mean, it's just lies upon lies upon lies. We market the 222 sometimes. I mean, it's not my favorite annuity. But what we needed to do was put together something that actually showed that client the truth about. So we used the downloaded data from the Allianz website to build this and show here is the guaranteed, and the client, the agent took the carrier illustration with them to show this, and the numbers were exactly the same. So the minimum, well, the guaranteed income in the 11th year was $6,600, and if we used the top one was Fidelity and Guarantee, Lincoln, and Sentinel Life, 1, 2, and 3. So we showed them over here in the other carrier section that their guaranteed minimum income would be $11,050, whereas the Allianz guaranteed was going to be $6,600. And the client was blown away and they wrote the F&G application on the spot, first meeting. So the tool helped. Well, it was the first meeting after going back with this tool, blew the other competition out of the water. And this is another thing that we just created for ourselves. So all right, we can basically create just about anything that you need. We're rarely stumped and have to say, that's not possible, unless, like I said, it's on one of those Farfanugan volatility control index things where there's no data available to the public. So we can't do anything with those, but we can typically work with something there to help you with your comparisons. But we'll tailor it to your selling style, to whatever carriers you like to work with. We've got top level contracts with all of them, and we've been doing this for decades. So we've learned good ways to make it simple and effective, even if it's something new. And that's it. That's selling tools from TWH, and for myself, Greg Skogsberg. Now, contact information. Please get a hold of our National Sales Coordinator, Mariah, and we have a toll-free number designated for our web class today. It's 888-765-5116. That's 888-765-5116. And you can email us at info@twhagency.com. People say, Greg, that's written right on the screen. Why are you reading it to us? Now, because I've been on those webinars where my computer died, but I kept the phone call going, and I was able to write down the contact information. So there it is again. One more time, the phone number is 888-765-5116, or email us at info@twh.com. Again, I'm Greg, President, TWH, Annuities Insurance Marketing. Thank you for your time and attention. Thanks for indulging me. I've gone over my 20-minute limit by a little bit. That's it. Look forward to talking to you. Look forward to helping you and working with you on whatever kind of customized sales tools you might want or need. Give us a call. We'll talk soon.